It ain't working too well. Okay, YouTube. I'm going to be talking into my Facebook Live camera. So I was trying to focus on this, but I'm having a difficult time doing that. We'll have to try something else. Okay, let's go live on Facebook. It says we are starting, so I will say good Sunday evening. It's I'm definitely Grandpa David tonight because I want to share a wonderful 2021 analysis of experiences that I had with my grandchildren this year, and uh, I need to explain that all the things that we are doing, and there's a lot of them. Uh, it all got started about 2 years ago. The things that you're seeing today, it got started a little over 2 years ago when a my best friend in Cincinnati, who uh, she and her husband are also my emergency contacts in Cincinnati. Um, she's been working out, exercising with me. She's been to several hundred of my classes, and was at the first class and the last class that I did at the Y up the street. But she's heard all my stories. Well, not all of them. She's heard a couple years of them. And one night she said to me, or a couple nights she said to me, David, you have to tell your story. You have to write a book. You have to tell your story. And I said to her real quick, I said, well, yes, I guess I do have to tell my story. But I don't want to do it in the form of a book. I have uh, written and manufactured my own book. I did that, 14 years ago. And I also have participated in a book project, national book project, 10 years ago. And somebody else was publishing it, and it was a big deal. I was part of that project. And that's really all I wanted to do in terms of books. They were wonderful experiences. As a matter of fact, I my book, How You Answer These 749 Questions About Your Small Business, I actually, from the time I started to write it uh, until I was holding up a book in my hand, it was 100 days. And it was the most fascinating 100 days, intense 100 days consecutive of my life, because I was devoting all my energies towards producing the book, publishing the book. It's a great experience. And I told Janet that I would rather share my story, verbalize my story, as opposed to writing my story. And so that's how we got started in doing all these things. And the very first web landing page that I started to develop was a domain, mylegacystory.site. Mylegacystory.site. As a matter of fact, I had to okay that name with Janet, because she was pushing me to do the project, do the story, and she loved it. So we started there, and it took a direction. And I was looking at it this weekend, and I've made a decision that I want to. Well, I'm going to take it down. It was up as of about an hour ago. My legacy story dot site, and I want to take it down. And I want to redo the site, redo the page, and I would like to make it a page. Uh, I've been hearing a lot of comments from folks about uh, complaints that they've had with various social media platforms, not to name one or the other. Actually, I've shared a lot of my challenges that I have had with Facebook, but uh, it was a place for me to try to understand how social media worked, how uh, how people behaved, and my target audience was obviously baby boomers. It's been my target audience from very. Oh my goodness, what time is it? I didn't. Oh my goodness, that is. I think that was the same bird that we heard last night. No, that bird sound was a Baltimore Oriole. Uh, I don't know if I've ever seen it. Well, I've seen. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Well, I probably whatever. Uh, that was the sounds, the melodic sounds coming from the 25th anniversary edition of the Bird Clock. And since I actually bought the very first edition of the Bird Clock, and I have no idea where well, I have some idea where it probably is. Um, it was fun to buy the new one, and uh, I've been a bird watcher, but I never really spent much time trying to understand who was talking to who and whatever. So I don't want to learn it. It's too much. Anyway, how did we? Oh, the clock set us up. So my legacy story dot site. I'm going to change it. I want to make it a community where folks can come. We'll do. There definitely will be videos there, but somehow I would like to uh, figure out how to do it and create a site that does it, the landing page that does it, so that individuals who might come to the actual live, uh, as we are doing a Facebook Live right now, they could chat with one another. It's fascinating what goes on in chat rooms in those big ones, and uh, I actually went into a. It was amazing. I went to a chat room of a Facebook Live Messenger. I don't know what it was, but Mark Zuckerberg was doing it uh, with his wife, and they've been doing it for a long time. And it was well, he had access to technology that I did not have access to as I tried to set it up because it wasn't doing the thing. My version of it wasn't doing the things that his version of the technology was doing. So we have to go in another direction on that. So part of what so my legacy story that I will just tell stories about our life, and if you want to come and share those experiences, uh, and we'll talk about it, and we'll put that video up on this my legacy story site, so you can send your grandchildren to that to watch to watch a video that you did, or do it yourself. I'll show you how to do it yourself. It doesn't matter. It's a nice thing to do. And having said that, last New Year's Eve at the second annual Leopold Family Cyberspace New Year's Eve cocktail hour before it's time for the children to go to bed. We've been doing that, and last year was the second one that we have done, and I told my grandchildren last year, and only two of the five understood what I was saying, or old enough to understand. We'll see what happens at this year's this year's video. Um, I told them that I would go to um, each one of their birthdays. Two of the birthdays were going to be celebrated in Columbus, Ohio. Three of the birthdays were going to be celebrated in New York City. And this year I had four of the five. And I apologize, Emery, for not hitting your birthday in late September, but we'll try to make up for it on Wednesday when I come to New York to visit you. Maybe. That's a whole crazy thing too. I was supposed to be with my grandsons in Columbus this weekend. That was called off on Friday or Saturday because my son, at my son's company, he had exposure, and other folks in the company had an exposure to somebody who was exposed to COVID. So through all the commotion and everything, we just decided it would be best if I didn't go to Columbus this weekend, which I obviously didn't do. But as I was discussing with my son to go to New York City, I've been hearing a lot of bad things, and I sent him a text message early this morning saying something like, well, it looks like I'm not going to come. And I forgot to put a question mark. So he read the text message and called me up and said, "What do you mean you're not coming with us?" So we went through the whole experience of what was going on. Before I go to New York City tomorrow, I am going to go test to see if I test positive for COVID. I've had two vaccinations, one booster shot, flu shot. All that stuff was done a long time ago, and well, yeah, a long time ago. As soon as it could be done, so that part of it wasn't a major concern. But so I don't know if it was me going into New York City, coming from Cincinnati, or what was going to happen once I'm there. Who knows? That's how crazy things are. Well, then also Sam suggested that I buy N95 masks for my flight to New York on Wednesday. And so where do you go? You go to Amazon Prime and see how quickly can they get to you. So I had to buy their most popular buy, which was 12, and um, I don't need 12, so I told my sons that they will each get some N95s for their family usage. Oh my goodness. So as of noon today, I will be going to New York City on Wednesday. Plane leaves, I think, at 10 o'clock. So we hit I hit 4 or 5 grandchildren. We're going to make up for it. Emory, next year, 2022, I will absolutely make sure that I am at your birthday. Uh, and we'll try to figure out the rest of them. But the other thing that I did that uh, my grandchildren didn't know about, it actually started, well, it probably started 34 years ago when Jordan was born. And I said, wow, now I have an opportunity to possibly be a grandfather. And then 369 days later, his brother Sam was born. And now both of them have made me a proud grandfather. Three granddaughters in New York City, two grandsons in Columbus. So I obviously started dreaming about becoming a grandparent 34 years ago. It'll be 35 years in April. And then Sam, the younger one by 369 days, actually got married in 2009. He got married. And a couple years later, well, that was 12 years ago. It'll be 13. It'll be 13 years this coming year. Wow, 13 years. And Eloise was 8 in August, so she is my oldest grandchild at 8 years old. To put things into perspective for you, so 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I answered an ad in a publication, and it simply said, these horses, okay, that you can see the horses. Actually, you can see 4 of them. Those 4 horses were available at free to a good home. So I convinced whomever I convinced that I would provide a good home for them. I promised. They were old horses. I said, well, someday I will do something with these for my grandchildren, with my grandchildren. There are only 4 of them. So I started to create a piece, and let's see what I've got here. Let's talk about the horses for a second. Back over there is the live uh, creation, and I'll be showing you pictures. So I got 4 horses. The largest horse is Eloise, and she's looking out to the future. She's looking out ahead to see what's going on. And we just lost Eloise. Stay. Okay, hopefully it'll stay. And next to her is Evelyn. And Evelyn was 6 years old in 2021. Now, I'm going to show you in a second what Evelyn is looking at, but she's paying close attention to something that's happening beneath. And running next to Evelyn is her youngest sister, Emery. And next to Emery is their cousin, my oldest grandson, Max. Emery was born in September of that year. Well, she was 2 years old this year. Max was born in July of that year. So they're both the same age by a couple months. And then there was only 4 horses. And by surprise, along comes Ari. And Ari, oh my goodness, Ari has gone through so much. He'll be celebrating his 2nd birthday in 2022, but he was born in one of the most crazy areas of the country with regard to COVID, and that was in Utah. He was born in Salt Lake City, and at that time, Utah was at the top of the list of red alerts in the country, and all of that craziness. Uh, and his parents decided to get out of that craziness and move back to Columbus, which they did about, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago. Uh, but I all that I had for Ari uh, was just a little tiny horse that didn't fit in at all. Wow. As the story goes, I will show you a scene, but in August, when I went to visit Eloise for her birthday, we went to a neighborhood, very small boutique toy store, really wonderful store. The owner, it was a mother and daughter, uh, did a wonderful job in merchandising the store. Very small, but really nice stuff. The very first thing that I saw was a horse that was getting closer to the size of Ari. Now, it's actually a little bit smaller than it should be, but I found him, and then I said, "Wow, the horses are now complete. It's done. We got done with that part of the story. Wow." Okay. Then something very crazy happened about 2 years ago. Oh wait, here's what. Here is what Evelyn was watching. She was watching herself, her two sisters, and her two cousins floating down a river because they were rubber ducks. I was in a, how long ago was that? Well, it must have been uh, the very first time that you could go to an outdoor restaurant. A friend of mine and I went to an outdoor restaurant, and the folks were giving the host or hostess, whatever, came up and had a basket of rubber ducks. You could pick a rubber duck and take it home as a souvenir of you being in the restaurant. They're famous for rubber ducks. Cincinnati has a whole rubber duck thing going on. At any rate, um, I looked at her and I said, "Wow, I can't take one. Would you mind if I took five?" And each one would remind me of one of my grandchildren. And how could you say no to that? So I took five, and let's get that picture up again. I can't believe the camera keeps going out. Well, it's hard to make bigger, but the girls are sitting in the front row and the boys are sitting in the back row, and they're by age. So that's what Evelyn was watching. That worked out very nicely. Okay, that's that part. Wow. Uh, okay, let's go to this one. 2 years ago, uh, or maybe even closer to three years ago. It's probably 3 years ago now. When I was up at the Y, and I only live a couple blocks away, so I ride my bike and I go up there, and I park my bike right at the front door. It's actually the back door, but it's a door that everybody goes in. They see my bike parked there, so they know that I'm in the building, and they see it a lot because I was in that building a lot. At any rate, I had taught it was actually one of my senior classes, uh, and uh, came down, went to go home, and there was this doll was sitting on my bike. No message. It's a porcelain doll. Once again, looked very old, very delicate. It was sitting on my bike. No sign, nothing, no evidence, but they knew that it was my bike, and they knew that I was in the building, and they knew that I had granddaughters, so they put that doll there. So wow. That so that is symbolic of my granddaughters. And I don't know if you're going to believe this or not. Uh, 2 weeks ago, this ball was thrown up on my porch. I'm right on the street. A lot of people walking by, and obviously, it had to be somebody. I don't know if they even know who I was in that particular case. Um, but when the weather's nice, I'm out there a lot. Uh, and that indeed is symbolic of my grandson. So now I've got the doll for the granddaughters, and the ball, soccer ball, for I was going to present that to to the boys this weekend, but they'll have to wait on that one. Oh, and I wonder if I can get a good shot of the other thing right behind. That's an interesting story too. Let's see if we can get it here. Okay, there's a come on, I won't do it. There's a graphic in the back. It's Leopold, and I was taking Jordan and Sam to the San Diego Zoo. They probably were 8 and 9 when I did it. And as we walked into the zoo, there was an artist there that would take your name and create a piece of art for you while you were in the zoo. And we picked up and paid for it on our way out. And it was the most beautiful piece of art. So we kind of had that in the background of everything. Oh, okay. So I've told you about the horses, the ducks, the doll, and the ball. The one last piece of the whole work. Do I have a good picture? Oh, yeah, here's a good picture of it. Okay, this was taken in July of this year at Max's second birthday. This was taken in New York City in a lovely neighborhood Italian restaurant. Actually, it was in their old neighborhood, so the girls and Sam know the place. Just it was 5 doors down from where they lived up until about 6 months ago. Well, the wonderful thing about those pictures, I took both of those pictures and I took them in less than a 6 week period. So in there, and they were in their own homes. So was able to be in both of their communities, in their cities, and take pictures of them both in a 6 week period. And that was even going to get blessed this week with me being in Columbus the weekend and then going to New York City Wednesday. Uh, Obviously, Columbus didn't happen, but uh, New York, it's going to happen unless there's craziness. But then again, New York City is the home of craziness. I actually lived in New York for a little over 3 months, probably about 100 days in 1973, and I loved it. Uh, 100 days after I got there, my father passed away in my hometown, so I went home. I left New York to go home and take care of, oh my goodness, of my mom and the business affairs that my father had. So that actually got me started in everything. So, um, oh, the very last thing, the end of the story. Well, not really the end, but a part of the story. It it looks like my son Sam. is trying to grab the receipt, the bill for the night, and he indeed looked at it. He said, "Here, Dad, the math is right." I said, "Okay, the math is right." We had a good time that night. We had a great time. I told the girls that they had to pick out a dress, their favorite dress, and they were modeling before we went out. So, uh, I'll, I guess I will tell my grandchildren New Year's Eve, the end of that whole thing. But one of the reasons why I did it, for any grandparent that might be watching this, either as a Facebook Live or on YouTube or whatever it might be, one of our web landing pages. Uh, it's amazing how well as I said, I only have two of five that understand life, and well, they all understand life, but two can really understand and express themselves out of five. Well, they're all doing a good job, but anyway, uh, just to do it, I could see now when I video chat with the girls after I had presented the video that I did for the family. Uh, the very next video chat I had with them, they wanted to take the camera and they wanted to tell a story and show me pictures, and I was just smiling. That was their takeaway from the video that I did. But it's a wonderful exercise for grandparents or great grandparents. Wow, only one thing better than being a grandparent. That's a great grandparent, and I could be hopefully a great grandparent in the next 20 years. So we'll see how that works out. Actually, if Eloise's parents, Sam and Kimberly, they were 25 and 26 when Eloise was born. So who knows? Whatever. Thank you. The bottom line, it's a wonderful project, not only for you to pull the pieces together and do that. It's a wonderful project for you, but your grandchildren will greatly appreciate your effort. And that's what really what it's all about, isn't it? Uh, my name is Grandpa David, and I want to thank you for taking. Wow, if you're still with me, it's almost 35 minutes. If you're still with me, thank you. Uh, I thank you for always thank you for the first 19 minutes of your time. But it's a great exercise, and it's about our children and our grandchildren. Uh, I did a posting in my story today in Facebook after I was watching the Sunday morning news shows, national uh, media news shows that I like to watch. Uh, about politics in this country, it's bad. It's never been worse in the years that I started to study it as a graduate of the political science department at the University of Cincinnati. I started in that department in 1967. Science, political now, uh, and it's my hope that uh, the baby boomers step aside and let our children and our grandchildren, and if we have great grandchildren, let them make the decisions now that is going to be a greater impact on their lives than our lives. And there's like, well, and there's people north of baby boomer. There's 80-year-old people, older than 80-year-old. There's a power elite in Washington. And to belong to that power elite, you have to be more than 80 years old. Oh, Lord. But it is what it is, and life does go on. So maybe the next time that we meet will be the very best time. We'll see you then. And my video. And my video is ending. Okay, we will end it to the folks in YouTube. Let me know what you think about the video and what we have going on. Thank you for your time this evening.